All right, Jastin, A through Z.
N
In.
is in Nancy.
Good friend of Nancy Reagan, Henry Kissinger, is still dead. And it's fantastic.
Still dead. Yes.
You weren't here for it last week, Jastin, when I was talking about how he's a terrible war criminal and a traitor to America, and I'm glad he's dead. And I just want everybody to know he's still dead this week.
That's cool.
Yeah. So nobody be alarmed.
Yeah,
Makes me happy as shit. Because if anybody was going to come back from the dead, like some fucking necromancy ghoul, it'd be that fucker Henry Kissinger. So, super happy that fucker is still dead. Also, weirdly, I've got multiple things with the letter N today. This is, really crazy for me. Oh, I said that. And then, okay, yes. Speaking of the letter N, the movie Napoleon has recently come out, and it had like a $200 million budget, right up there with another pretty well-known movie at this point in time, Killers of the Flower Moon. Also roughly had a $200 million budget. Very similar also to another movie called The Marvels by Disney. And weirdly enough, they've all roughly kind of come close to the same box office. The Marvels having done the best at the box office, followed second by Flowers of the Killer Moon. And then, Napoleon is last, but it's also the newest of those movies, but projected to still come in under Flowers of the Killer Moon. And yet only one of those movies is considered a failure. And I wish I remember what the name of the TikToker I was that pointed all this out. I would definitely give them credit if I didn't have a slightly shitty memory. And he brought up a very good point. It kind of figures like you've two kind of like prestige movies, if you will, and a female-led movie. And I know some people are going to argue that's reaching. I don't think it is. Because only one of them's considered a flop. When they're all literally the same. And I don't think the argument that two of them were made for prestige is a valid enough argument to still say that they're not flops. Because there's lots of movies that are made for prestige and still suck. So that's not a valid argument to me. And I think it just kind of feeds into the narrative that, that we kind of expect when it comes to these things, whenever it is, especially revolving around Captain Marvel and Brie Larson specifically. And oh yes, Heather reminded me, the TikToker was Nerd Speech. So Nerd Speech on TikTok. Thank you. I'm glad we could give them credit. But I just wanted to know what you guys thought about that. Like, or if you agree, disagree, anything, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I do think that's interesting. And because part of me is like, okay, are they considering the Marvels a flop because of it compared to other movies in the MCU? Or is it actually because it's this female-led movie that it feels like nobody was really taking seriously in the first place? I don't know. I just feel like everybody did not expect much from the film. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I mean, that's a slightly fair argument, but then, I also argue that it also had a bigger calamity of circumstances going against it. Came out still in the middle of the writer's strike.
That's also true.
It's prime promotional time, writer's strike.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that what the fuck else from Marvel's coming out anytime soon? There's no, Marvel in general is kind of lost with what it's doing, and even if you disagree with my point of view on the narrative of it being lost, you have to admit it kind of is. There's one Marvel movie coming out next year. One. And that's not even one that's a traditional MCU property. That's one they bought from Fox and just said it's in the MCU now. So it's not even a traditional MCU property.
Yeah.
There's so many things kind of stacked up against it right now. And on top of that, Marvel fucking failing on a few other projects doesn't put confidence in this. I get that.
Yeah.
But the thing is I don't know too many people that saw it and didn't think it was at least good.
Yeah, I haven't actually heard anybody that's seen it that said it was bad. It was either like, yeah, that was fun, or it was really good, or, somewhere in between there. But I haven't heard anybody yet be like, that was just a terrible movie, What
about you, Jastin? Have you heard anybody say it was bad? Like, has anybody looked you in the eye and said it was bad?
No. For the Marvels, no, I haven't heard that sentiment. And even when I go online and look at stuff, or there's some article about the Marvels flopping or something like that, typically people are in the article chiming in about how good it was, or I saw it, thought it was fun, or it wasn't that bad, or, it was just fine. It was just a solid, fun movie. So I definitely think when it comes to the Marvels, there's definitely a certain sect of the public out there on the internet that hates Brie Larson, and they were campaigning against Brie Larson when the first Captain Marvel came out. And then when the movie came out, they were super critical about her acting, saying she was too wooden, she can't play this character and stuff like that. I even had somebody message me a while ago and was like, well, I think and somehow we were talking about Infinity War and we were talking about her, and he was like, well, she's so overpowered in the MCU that they have to take her out of different points of the story, because if she was there, she would just handle the shit. And they were kind of like, they have a problem with her because of that. And I was like, so you don't have a problem with Goku when they take him out of the story so that these other characters can get some shine? So you don't have a problem with Superman
I was about to say,
when they take him out of the story so that Batman can get some shine? They do that with Star Wars. I mean, they do that shit in everything.
Well, let's go even a slightly more direct comparison. Another Marvel property, not technically MCU, but another Marvel property. Professor Xavier.
Yeah.
They find a way to take him out of almost every fucking X-Men movie because he could just shut off people's brains.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that this friend that I was talking to has some sort of negative opinion of Brie Larson. I don't think I could accuse him of that. But I do think when you are constantly hearing this narrative that the character is too powerful, the character has, shouldn't be there because it's a mixed match of powers and abilities, or the character was taken out because she has too much power and all of this kind of stuff. And I was like, well, even when the character was there, they didn't solve the problem. Thanos still punched the shit out of her. I mean, it still was Tony Stark that came into the clutch with the Iron Gauntlet and everything, and that's what destroyed Thanos. She wasn't the solution once she got there. So it's like not even true to what happened.
But even then, it's not technically a Brie Larson problem.
Yeah,
Brie Larson didn't write the scripts.
True. Exactly. But I feel like that's sort of part of this sort of hate narrative against her. And I don't know everything about the Brie Larson hate. I know some of it had to do with something about her and NFTs, and I don't even really know what an NFT is. I don't even know if I know that one. NFT, yeah, but
I can sum it up real quick. It's a non-fungible token. It's also just a bunch of bullshit.
Okay.
Fuck all you crypto bros. NFTs are bullshit.
See, and I figured maybe it was something along the lines of like cryptocurrency or some shit like that. But anyway, I think in its infancy, she was a big supporter of it, and people got onto her for that. I mean, clearly this woman just can't do shit. But I think it's just
the people that would be mad at her for that, or like that just don't like her, are the people that also would love NFTs. So it's like this weird mix of like they're mad because she likes something they like.
Right.
Maybe so. And how could she like this? So, you know, I think a lot of it is the hate narrative with her. However, that movie is a flop when you look at previous Marvel movies. I mean, there is some truth to that. So I do want to acknowledge that too. Yes. I'm not sitting there blaming Brie Larson or saying she's too powerful or anything like that. But there is some truth to when you look at the mountain of money that some of these movies have made. And like Guardians 3 is a recent one. It still made what, 800 million, close to 900 million worldwide and stuff like that. This is a far cry from that. But like you said, there are so many other like factors and situations that come into play, like the timing of it, the writer's strike. I think all of that comes into play. You know, the COVID delays, who saw the other characters from the Disney Plus series. You know, I mean, there's a lot of things that you could talk about with that of reasons why it flopped that have nothing to do with the quality of the film.
My point with that, though, isn't to say that The Marvels wasn't a flop.
Yeah.
It is that you have to call Killers of the Flower Moon and Napoleon a flop, too.
Now, to those, what I wanted to say about those is, what exactly, I think I need to understand more what people are saying, because if it's made little money at the box office, why are they saying it's a successful movie? I need to understand why. Are they saying it's a good movie and people are sort of spinning the narrative a little bit? You know, because Killers of the Flower Moon is critically acclaimed or something, like maybe.
It's the argument that prestige movies don't have to make their budget back
in order to be considered
successful,
a successful movie. I guess then you're kind of looking at, okay, well, what defines success? But I know that Killers of the Flower Moon, isn't it also tied up in like the Apple Plus thing? Like, so wasn't it a limited release anyway?
It wasn't completely a limited release. It was we have to put this out so it gets award recognition. Same with Napoleon. The only way they can get award acknowledgement at this point from the Academy Awards is to have theatrical releases.
Okay. So who knows? Maybe there's some truth to the fact that if you look at what it made, and I'm just on Killers right now, what it made in the limited time it's been released, and then you look at the Apple Plus numbers or whatever, or buys or whatever, purchases, whatever, maybe somebody could argue that it is a success based on that. But if they're just blatantly coming out going, oh, it's awesome, it's a success, and there's nothing to back that up other than them just saying it's a prestige movie, I do see why you would have a problem with that. As far as Napoleon, I haven't heard shit about Napoleon, guys. I haven't heard any negative about it. I haven't heard any positive about it. That movie has just been there. I don't know anybody who's seen it. Like, exactly. Like, I don't know anybody who's seen it. I know nobody was like, oh, this is an anticipated release. Like, I mean, I haven't heard shit about that movie. So it would be really weird if people are like, it's a triumphant success. Like, even critically, it's got a moderate score. Like, it's like, I haven't heard any real positive or negative about it. That movie is just kind of existing as far as I'm concerned.
See, I think my issue with it is there are multiple metrics when it comes to looking at a movie and whether or not it meets the goals you want it to meet. You know, some movies are made just to garner critical buzz because of some of the financial incentives that might mean for other properties. You know, sometimes movies just want to have, good numbers on streaming services, but like in these instances, they have to release it in theaters and stuff like that. My point is that essentially a box office flop is technically the same no matter what. There are definitive metrics on whether or not a movie is a box office flop, even if that's not the company's goal. Apple probably did not release Napoleon or Killers of the Flower Moon in theaters to make their money back that way. That's fair. But you could still look at the box office numbers and go, you would need to make 400 million to get your money back, and you're sitting at 117. That is still, regardless of what Apple's goal is still a box office flop. You know what I mean? That is a clearly defined thing. You know, we have ways of determining whether or not something's a box office flop. Because for all we know, the Marvels could come out on Disney Plus and be the best movie on Disney Plus for the next 8 years straight. You know what I mean?
True. What was their rough box office numbers?
For which one?
Well, they're kind of all around the same, right? All the movies, the Killers of the Flower Moon, Marvels, and Napoleon.
Last I knew, Killers of the Flower Moon, I wanted to say was around 117.
Okay.
So Napoleon, I should have been a little bit more prepared. Heather, that's very rude of you to do this to me, to ask me very specific numbers when I ain't got shit. Okay. Killers of the Flower, Napoleon is sitting at 140 million worldwide, which that's, respectable, except for the fact that it's 400 million to break even. So it probably still won't. The Marvels is sitting at 200 million. And Killers of the Flower Moon is sitting at 154. The thing is all movies are still trending down. Napoleon is not expected to do much this weekend. Napoleon was the third highest grossing movie of the weekend. It's expected to be like 9th or 10th this following, so they're expecting that's most of the money it's ever going to make right there. You know what I mean? So they don't expect it to catch Killers of the Flower Moon, and they don't expect it to catch the Marvels. You know what I mean? So, and that's why I was bringing it up like that, is that's the way it is. Which that reminds me though, that Godzilla -1, that movie was made for $15 million and it made 40. Fantastic. Good job.
Wow.
On that. See, that's the thing. It's like, that's what I'm saying, is there's like hard metrics on what's a success and what's not based on so many things. Like, it made $40 million. That's not a lot of money. Rousing success. Because it only cost 15. They've doubled their budget and almost made 2/3 extra profit. That's why I'm like, when it comes to box office numbers, there are metrics. There's not, critical acclaim doesn't matter as much when it comes to your hard box office numbers. And that's why I think it's disingenuous to say the Marvels is a flop and the other two aren't. When it just comes to box office. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying with it, is that.
Yeah. And I think I'm inclined to agree with that. My only caveat would be unless the studios is defining success as something different. So, is it possible for a movie to not be a box office success, but still be a critical success,
Yeah, well,
still
yes.
be an award success,
Yes.
still be considered like a great film and stuff like that. You know, there are tons of movies that didn't do well when they ran at the box office. There have been some that were panned by critics. There have been some didn't make any money, and now they're considered like American classics and stuff like that. So, you know,
You want a very
I don't know. I feel
example
like
of that? Got a very specific example of that. Fits the timing of the year and everything. The movie It's a Wonderful Life. Box office failure. Critical failure. Considered a terrible movie when it came out. But back in the day, broadcasters needed something to put on the air for Christmas that they could just put on the air and not worry about. The rights for It's a Wonderful Life were so fucking cheap because it was considered so terrible that most broadcast stations just played It's a Wonderful Life on Christmas. And now, what is it considered? An all-time classic Christmas movie.
Yep.
A must-see Christmas film.
Mm-hmm. That's a great example. Or I look at something like Shawshank Redemption that didn't make very much at the box office, was panned by critics, and now that is considered one of the greatest movies ever. You know?
That's got a weird story like that too.
Yeah. So it's like...
It was shown on TNT and TBS so many times because Ted Turner produced the movie and also owned those networks and sold himself the rights to it very cheaply. So that's why it was on TNT all the time. And it's like you say, Jastin, it's just a part of American life. Like at any given point in time, like the joke is like at any given point in time, how many channels are showing Shawshank Redemption?
Yeah. So it's kind of crazy. Like, so it's weird, like, because I think it's all about how you define success. Now, obviously, if somebody is spinning some sort of malicious narrative about these movies, that's not cool. But if the point of the Marvels was to simply rake in money and it had no other goal but the box office goal, then it definitely failed on every level. You know what I mean? But if Killers of the Flower Moon comes out, it's a limited release. We're going to throw it out there. But really what we're doing is award hunting and trying to get some critical acclaim off of that. Then if it does make, more money than expected, and it does, like, even if it doesn't make its budget, and then at the come award time, it wins all this stuff, gets showered, is considered like this great movie, then maybe you could argue it was. I mean, if that was the goal of the studio in the first place. I think it's just all about how you define success.
Well, I think either way we parse it, the studios want to make some money.
Oh, yeah, for
you know
sure.
what I mean? I agree with you that, yeah, they might care more about the awards, but don't tell me Apple, with their super expensive fucking electronics, don't give a fuck about the money.
No,
you know
of
what I
course
mean?
They care.
Like, that's why it's that I don't want to trust studios when it comes to what their goals were. Because I guarantee part of their goals, they want these movies on Apple TV Plus, so you buy the subscription. You know what I mean? They still want to make their money with these things.
Mm-hmm. And then sometimes I think, especially in Hollywood, depending on who you are, your accomplishments, your reputation, things like that, sometimes, maybe unfairly so, you get the benefit of the doubt while other things just don't. At the end of the day, The Marvels is a comic book fucking movie about, a bunch of motherfuckers flying around, switching places and shit and fighting some forgettable villain. And it's just kind of popcorn fun. But Martin Scorsese is considered one of the, if not the greatest director in the history of cinema. He's going to get some benefit of the doubts that the narrative for him, a movie of his, is just going to be different and probably spun differently because his accomplishments demand that it's looked at differently. Not always fair, but I'm just talking about what is, not necessarily what's fair.
And that's not wrong. Like what you said, yeah, that's not wrong. I mean, I think it should be wrong. If you saw The Irishman, I don't think he should get the benefit of the doubt anymore.
That was tight, man. You didn't like Robert De Niro
Robert De Niro
beating up somebody. You didn't like De Niro beating up somebody on the side of the street.
26-year-old De Niro moving like an 80-year-old. Fucking cinema classic.
He was fucking that dude up though. It was a little slow, you know. He wasn't exactly raging bull, but
he wasn't exactly just temperamental cow. I mean,
temperamental cow. Okay, that was a nice comeback. But come on, guys, y'all out there, y'all know what this shit is, man. That fool is gonna get the benefit of the doubt, man.
No, and
it's Martin
that.
Scorsese.
And Ridley Scott did Napoleon. He's gonna get the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna lie,
and
Jastin.
Is some of that on? But like you said, could some of that shit be on some woman shit? Of course it can. Could some of that shit be on some Brie Larson hate? Of course it can. But motherfucker, sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles.
And when I say this though, when I say that like people are saying one's a flop and the other ones aren't, I'm not even talking about like studio insiders. I'm talking about your in general like internet chatter. You know what I mean? Like that's why I find it disingenuous. You know what I mean? Like because you know there are several factors to some stuff. I mean, on top of that too, and that does segue nicely into the final topic I wanted to do for this intro. Did you hear what Bob Iger said that what was the downfall of the Marvels?
Oh no, what'd he say?
There was not enough executives there to help them make decisions. That was the downfall of the Marvels. There wasn't enough studio interference. Because, you know, studios are notorious for giving good notes. I have never heard a story about a studio giving notes and going, oh, that was the right call. Every story I have ever heard about studio notes is them making the stupidest fucking decisions or giving the stupidest fucking ideas that they could ever give. Have you both of you seen Kong Skull Island?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people would consider John C. Reilly one of the better parts of that movie. I'm not saying the movie's bad or anything. I'm just saying he was the beloved character from that movie. Everybody loved John C. Reilly. The studio hated him and thought it was a waste and they did not need him.
That's interesting.
You know what changed their mind? Test audiences going, we fucking love that guy.
At least they listen to their audience, I guess.
Yeah.
Well,
nice.
it's kind of hard when every test audience is like, oh, that's fucking great. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things that like they always weirdly just have these weird fucking desires to just destroy movies. What's his name? David Zaslav, CEO of Warner Brothers, also recently came out saying he had to make the brave decision to not release Batgirl.
Why?
He is such a bitch. Like, why is he acting like that was the decision to, you know, like go rescue Black Hawk Down?
What a hero, that guy.
Yep. Big time hero.
Had to make the brave decision. Fuck right off.
I always love it when somebody like describes themselves as brave.
Exactly.
You know?
That's what I think makes it dirtier.
Yeah, bragging about being brave.
I was brave to not release a movie that was filmed. What a fucking joke. That's all I got. Oh, I want to check one more thing real quick. Just real quick. I'll be really quick. Yeah, Henry Kissinger is still dead.
Thanks for checking in on that.
I'm glad you checked on that. Yeah.
I really hope
woke up.
between now and when this episode comes out, he does not resurrect himself.
Right. Yes.
Egg on my face if that happens. Well, you guys ready to talk about this movie?
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeet.
I'm not. I really don't want to hit that intro music.
Dang, it's a long one, brother. You in for some pain.
Why is it going to be long? This movie had no words. What the fuck are we going to say about it?
Jastin's like, I'm just letting you know. I got a lot to say.
Well, note to Cinefans, the amount I have to say about this movie will be apparently a stark contrast to the amount of words Jastin has to say. So this might balance out. Transition.
Somebody will listen to me.
Nobody knows anything but you.
All right. Are you ready?
Yep.
Come on.
Cinema Slayers.
Hey, Cinefans, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. I'm Sterling, and as always, I'm joined by Heather and Jastin. And tonight we're going to talk about what we liked, didn't like, and everything in between with the new John Woo movie, Silent Night. We will go spoiler-free recommendations and scores, and then into a more spoiler-centric section with time codes in the description to allow you to jump around in both audio and video formats if you so require. And with all that, just to set the tone for this episode, I'll go first. Heather, on to you.
Oh, I see. Well,
If you haven't seen the movie, I just said all the script.
yes, that is a good point. So you said about as much as the movie said. I get that. Yeah. Yeah, like this one is interesting, and I think in general this is going to be an interesting like movie to talk about, because there's just not any, like, there's less dialogue in this than there was in that No One Will Save You movie. You know what I mean? Like, just, I don't know, but it's I mean, yeah, it's hard to know what to really say except like,
Are we throwing you off, Heather?
yeah, a little bit.
So
I have a confession to make, Heather.
this is how prepared we are for this.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
my God.
I was like, something's happening over here, and I'm so confused.
Justin watched the wrong movie.
I did.
And that's why I was laughing. And that's why we were on two separate pages with things.
Oh no.
That's why I was like, it was long. And you were like, nobody said anything. And I was like, what is he talking about? And I was like, man, I guess I read your message wrong, bro.
Yeah,
I thought we
week.
were switching to Killers.
Next
so I
week.
watched that.
No, yeah. This week we still
I
watch
read it
Silent.
wrong, man. Yeah, because
So
I'm reading it now. And
You
were like, this
legitimately just
weekend.
watched Killers of the Flower Moon last night
Yes.
for this?
Yes.
Oh,
I
shit.
watched that long ass shit.
Oh gosh.
Well, you were ultra prepared for next week.
Damn it, man.
That's so funny though.
I
Oh,
was
no.
so confused because Justin's like, when I'm like kind of making fun of the movie, and Justin's like, stop it. And I'm like, stop what? I was like, Jastin, I know you did not like this movie. I know you did not like it. You cannot tell me you watched this movie and liked it. And then he's like, I watched Killers. And I was like, oh.
Oh my gosh, that's really funny. The only thing
Damn
I
it.
did see pop up was you didn't watch Silent Night, and like I thought there was some kind of joke I was missing in the rest of that message, but that's not a joke. That's just the whole thing. Okay.
Now,
Well, fuck. Let me see if maybe I could get it in. Can y'all record like Friday or something?
That's kind of up in the air for you, right, Sterling?
yeah, it's a little up in the air for me.
Oh yeah, because you got all that family shit going on. Fuck. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I fucked up. I don't know why I read that like, oh, we're switching. I don't know why.
yeah, for
I
this
thought-
weekend.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
This
It was the
upcoming
one
weekend.
for Poor Things is the one we were
Yes.
going to do, and then we switched it to Killers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I just, fuck, man. I guess when I read it, I was distracted and I just,
Wow.
It would have been
fucking-
kind of funny, though, to go through this and then, like, you're just talking about something so different.
So it's just really funny because your reaction, Jastin, and I'm keeping all of this. We are keeping all of this because worst case, you could drop off, Jastin, and we'll finish. Me and Heather could just do Silent Night. We can just knock it out real quick.
okay.
But because this is just so funny. This is fantastic. This truly
This is
is.
great.
Because I was legitimately confused by you, Jastin. Because you're like, stop it. And I'm like, and I'm just sitting here thinking, Jastin, there's no way in fucking hell you watch Silent Night and we're like, I'm going to die on the hill that is this movie.
So much to say about it. Like,
I could see that we might have a difference in opinion to where you at least thought it was okay,
yeah.
but not, I'm going to die on the hill of this movie.
No.
This is not the one. This is not the one for
Oh
that.
my
No.
God. And that's why when you were like, even when you were talking earlier, you were like, yeah, so Killers of the Flower Moon is on there, so you guys can watch it. So yeah, it's there available to watch. And I'm sitting in my head thinking, well, of course it's available to watch. You brought it so we can watch it. Like, why did he say it like that? You know, I was still sitting there going in my head thinking, why did he say it like that?
It's like you can watch it
That's
anytime
what
you
we
want. You're
watched
like,
tonight.
yeah, that's why we watched it. No.
That's why we all watched it last night and
That-
tonight.
That should have been my
Oh yeah, because
first clue.
Sterling was like, I can watch it like in increments, and you're
Yeah.
just like, what? Probably so confused by that.
Yeah, because he was
Oh my
like watching
gosh.
it because I could watch it in increments, and I was like, okay, that's what. And I started to say, yeah, that's what I did. I watched half of it, Tuesday, and then watched the other half tonight. I started to say that, and then y'all would have been like, Jastin, you fucked up right then and there. But I didn't. I was like, why did he word it that way?
This realization in real time is just the best.
I also
And I
like-
made a face that I'm interested in seeing. I made a face that I'm sure was hilarious. Can't wait to see it.
You said, I watched Killers, and I was like, I don't even remember what I said, and I just looked up and you had this like
No, I didn't see it. I missed it.
I was like,
the,
Oh no!
and I'm just sitting here laughing at that point, and Heather's just trying to talk and give her, spoiler-free thoughts on the movie Silent Night. It just stops because she's like, what the fuck is going on?
I'm so confused. Oh no, this is great. Oh my gosh!
And I love
That's
the
really
fact that we
funny.
got half an hour in before Justin's like, I watched the wrong movie.
So did you actually just realize it when he was like, we're going to talk about Silent Night? That's when you realized it? Like,
it all came back like a Saw movie. I was like, oh, that's why he said that shit earlier. That's why he said, what are you talking about? I was like, it's long, so you better have something. You should have something to say. This 3.5 hour movie.
oh,
I
that's why
was
he's like, why is it going to be long?
yeah, what he said. And he said, nobody said anything. And I went, the fuck is he talking about?
What is going on?
It was hella dialogue. It was nothing but dialogue.
This movie is 99%
I thought he
people
was.
talking.
I thought, but I thought that
Oh
was
my
you
gosh.
being facetious, like no, like kind of like one of those things. Like there was a lot of talking, but nobody said shit. I thought you were being like sterling facetious.
No, I was talking
Not
about
So I
a
didn't
movie
make
where
the-
like 9 words are said in the whole fucking movie.
Oh no, this is so funny. Like
I was literally talking about a
Boy.
movie whose script is just action directions.
when you said that you had like the Saw flashbacks in my head, I'm picturing like the Saw theme song as in your head you realize you've watched the wrong movie. Oh no.
Oh, so
that's
if it hadn't clicked, if I did something where I didn't say the name of the movie, and I was just like, here's my spoiler-free thoughts, and I hadn't said what movie we were doing, and I was just like, on to you, Heather, and you're like, would you have just been completely irate that I was like, Flowers of the Killer Moon or Killers of the Flower Moon isn't even worth me saying anything to?
Yes. Yes.
Aren't you
'Cause
glad
when
we
you
didn't
said
start
that-
with you, Jastin?
I know. And what if you had started with me? That's what I fear. Because I would have went into, well, Leo DiCaprio, y'all would have been like, the fuck are you talking about?
I mean, I like Joel Kinnaman, but I don't think he's Leo.
Wow, that's funny. I mean, you know what? It wouldn't be the first
My
time we
bad.
did a podcast episode where someone just was on it and didn't watch the movie.
I
Sterling.
mean, do you just want to sit? Do you just want to sit and listen to us talk about it, Justin?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh my
We can
gosh.
keep going. That was great.
You can give us your thoughts on the trailer for the movie if you've seen
Yeah,
that.
put it on mute.
I
and watch
have
the
that.
trailer.
I have seen.
Cool.
That I have seen.
You've seen the movie.
Pretty much. Yeah.
You saw it.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. This is great.
Man.
This is comedy gold, guys.
Because I can't
I do
remember
like,
a damn thing that happens in the trailer or in the movie that did not happen in the trailer.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to do our best to make you not want to watch this movie, most likely.
But they said John Woo does it again.
Yeah. What was that other movie he did?
In the trailer,
Was it Paycheck? No, what's that one he did with Paycheck. Wasn't that the Ben Affleck one about reverse engineering shit?
Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah, he did that again.
Oh, shit. Surely it's not that bad. I'm intrigued.
He did a Mission Impossible 2 again.
Oh, no.
You know what he did not do? Any of his good movies again.
Dang.
So, Heather, go ahead and finish your spoiler-free thoughts then.
No, that's fine. I don't even know what I was saying. But what I will say now is that I feel like it's one of those movies where it is going to be interesting what we say because, like, we're going to be talking so much about a movie that has no dialogue from any character. Spoiler alert. Sorry, guys. It's a little early. But anyways, yeah. So it's... And the thing with it is, my whole conflict with this is, I don't like hate this movie. I don't think it's like the absolute garbage fest movie of the year or anything like that.
I do.
But but I also don't like it because I mean there's just the fact it's the definition of a movie that has potential to be so much better than it is, and just because they made certain choices to have no dialogue, they just, there's only so much you could do with that. Like, I mean, I know we saw that movie, No One Will Save You, or No One Can Save You movie, where there was not really dialogue there either, but that creative choice worked better for some reason than it does here. And I don't know why that is. I think it's just the writing of the movie in general is probably why that worked better in the other one.
I can tell you right now why it worked better. Tension and interesting choices with what they were doing.
That's fair. Yeah, that sounds accurate. Yeah.
Like, there's stuff in that movie you haven't seen before.
Yeah.
There is not a damn thing in Silent Night that you haven't seen in 8 other movies this year.
Yeah.
Outside of Joel Kinnaman. He's only
Right.
been in one other movie this year that I know of. Outside of
movie?
that, Sympathy for the Devil with Nicolas Cage.
Oh, right. Okay.
Outside of that, every other thing in this movie you've seen so many times.
Well, and I think that's the problem too, is like, it doesn't really culminate to anything either. Like, there's no big aha moment in this movie. You know what I mean? There's nothing like, I don't know. I feel like it's a movie that did a bunch of things that didn't warrant them being done, I guess is kind of what I feel like in this movie. Joel Kinnaman is not the problem with this movie. I mean, he did honestly the absolute best he could probably do given what the script was. Like, and you know, I mean, he does a lot of, facial acting because it's all you can do in this movie about a man who can't talk. And then honestly, Kid Cudi, that's how you say it, right? Yeah. He honestly wasn't bad either, but also not much to go off of as far as dialogue. You know what I mean? But I think their performances, if they had had a script that allowed for it, these could have been really solid performances, like Joel Kinnaman was, he was definitely the best thing about this movie. I'll give him that. Like, he was the best thing about it, which is good because he's the main character, and like there's a compelling, I guess, somewhat compelling story there about, family tragedy and all of that. But you just feel like it's not realized the best way that it could be for what this movie is about. And I think yeah, sure, there's a lot of action, things like that, but I don't know. I just feel like nothing, especially the ending, doesn't feel earned in this movie. And yeah, so it just kind of feels like, I don't know, the tone of this movie is a lot also darker than I expected. Like I remembered very little about the trailer, but it's just the tone of it is very like dark because of what it's about. But I think that the darkness and the revenge aspect of this movie don't really match. And so I don't know, there's just something a little bit off about just the execution of the film in general. Again, it's not the worst film I've seen this year, but it's just definitely probably has to be one of the most forgettable like action films that I've seen. It's just very not memorable in any sort of way, which is, it's unfortunate because there was potential with some of the performances, but it's just not something to write home about.
So just a question. I'm just going to be inquisitive bystander at this point.
Oh, I've got a quiz for you later, Jastin.
Oh shit. So when you say no dialogue, so that means everybody in this, so every character in this,
correct,
there is absolutely no speaking.
There is.
Is there text? Is there anything text. Like that?
A few people text each other.
Oh.
Like text each other, like on a phone, but you see it on the screen. There's some background dialogue,
Okay.
Like, but it's
so inaudible,
yeah.
like indistinct.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can hear some of the words, like there's a scene where he's like having surgery and they're like scalpel, but it's not like a character talking to the camera or talking to another, you know what I mean?
Right.
It is background conversation. There's a scene towards the end of the movie where
no voiceover narration.
No,
nothing like that.
No, there's a point later in the movie where, a lot of stuff's going down, like a lot of gang violence, or as the movie says 9 billion times, a gang war is happening. And you hear the police talking on the radio, like he's listening to the police radio while it's happening. So you hear that. But, but it's not a character talking to each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think you hear Kid Cudi says maybe like, thank you, detective, or something like that one time. And then
maybe
the wife in the movie says like maybe one or two things, but very quietly to where you feel like she's just not really talking.
Like she's saying, like at one point, I think she's saying, it's okay. But that's it. Like like it really is a handful of lines of dialogue in this movie.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to get a sense of
Yeah.
that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Not even a person like internal dialogue or like a person talking to themselves. You know, like in movies, you'll see like, oh, what's going on here? And they're like kind of talking to themselves. There's not even that. That's not even happening. So, yeah.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things that unlike No One Will Save You, it doesn't feel like a creative choice. It feels like a crutch this movie put on itself to make up for the fact that it wasn't doing or saying anything interesting. You know,
That's a valid take.
I mean, we can go ahead and do this part right now, Jastin. You know, how many like movies where it's like the revenge movie where the guy's getting revenge for something that happened to his family? Have you seen where, you know, at the end of the movie, the guy's, you know, taking damage and he starts having a flashback to the family member that died and starts even dreaming of the future that person would have had if they had lived.
Too many to name.
You would have just seen it again. How many times have you seen just normal ass fuck guy who trained in his garage take mortal damage at least 8 different times at the end of the movie, still kill like 27 people?
Yeah. Hella movies.
It's that
Hella
shit.
revenge movies. Okay.
How many movies in the 90s did you just hear cops yelling, "It's a gang war. It's a gang war."
Like all of them.
Yeah. I'm not even exaggerating. They literally are just screaming, "It's a gang war" on their radio. Like that's what cops do over the city, is they just start yelling a gang war is happening.
Yeah. It's a weird, like, if you were to just to kind of describe sort of the, like, what they wanted the plot to be of this movie, there were elements of it, and go with me on this, but like, there were elements of the movie where if you didn't see the movie and you're just thinking about the story and things that happen in it, it's a little bit of a cross of like a John Wick meets Face Off a little bit. And it sounds like it would be much more interesting than the movie actually is.
You're describing potentially one of the greatest movies of all time.
This is what I'm saying. Like, because if you think about some of the elements of this movie.
Because I don't see Face Off in this movie.
Well, I think it's the whole thing about the
Lost kid. Yeah.
The lost kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also you know what I'm saying?
I realized something in this movie with John Woo. When he has a character who's lost a child, one of that character's defining traits for the rest of the movie is that anytime you see them interact with a child for the rest of the movie, they touch their face.
Yeah.
He's very big on people who lost kids touching other kids' faces.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's all throughout Face Off.
Yeah.
And that happens a couple of times in this movie. And it's just weird.
Yeah.
I don't like
How much face touching would you say you actually do? Like in life? How many people face touch you?
Very little.
Not like you're touching
Like-
your own face, but other people touching your face.
But like that whole face touching, it's like
Typically, that happens when I'm doing
does it?
sexy things. Outside of that, I don't touch people's faces.
yeah, like, would you touch a kid's face? I mean, like, even if you cared about it, would you do that? Like maybe if you're messing around with them or something, I feel like maybe you do that messing around, but like the whole, I don't know.
The affectionate
who
face touch of
does
a
that?
child, I have never done in my life. I have never gone,
Especially with
Hello,
a
child.
stranger. Yeah.
Yeah, like, who does that? And wouldn't the child just go, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. I just feel like that's
I
what
did
would
that to like my little brothers when they were like a baby. Be like, got your face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that. Or like a little, like when like you're like playing with like my little brothers. I'm like, like you're playing slaps. You know?
But I'm talking about
Yeah.
have you ever touched somebody's face like that?
Okay,
And somehow
but it's not even-
it's this sentimental connection.
It's not
like,
even that.
It's like
It's
they
the John
freeze,
Woo
you freeze.
this
And it's
on the child's face. It's not even like the caress on the cheek. It's the down the face.
which
Yeah.
is more like a swipe or something.
Like, I
just
can't believe you're real
wipe.
type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah, are you real? Like,
That's like doing the whole like Ray
That's-
Charles thing. Like,
yeah, are you there? Like, that just feels strange.
Yeah.
I just feel like
Yeah.
I've always thought that was strange. I have never, ever touched anybody like that ever. Just that one hand face touch. It just feels like it would be seen as corny, or
creepy.
I just feel like I would be told I watched too many movies.
Yeah. Like I said,
did
the
it.
only
Yeah.
time I touch another person's face is for intimate reasons. You
Yeah.
know. And
And even then, is it that? Is it
I'm
that
not
single?
doing that. I'm
you
not
know,
I'm not doing
is it
the
that?
I'm not doing the
Is
face
it that
waterfall.
side? Is it that side cheek boom? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, are you doing that? Are you side cheek booming?
Like, you know, it's the cup around the back of the head, like, but like thumb on the cheek.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Okay.
The face
Yeah.
cup,
Okay.
but not the
cup's
face
a good way to put
waterfall.
That, yeah.
I ain't doing
Yeah,
a
no.
face
What'd you
waterfall.
call it,
waterfall.
Justin?
The
A side what?
A cheek boom.
A side cheek
Yeah.
boom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cheek boom. You know, you come down, boom. You know.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
get
yeah.
it. Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it fits side cheek, and then boom, you come off. Of,
Yeah.
You know.
But I mean, and I guess maybe it's like elements like that just gave me a little bit of the face off vibes. And then just the whole, you know, the anger journey that the dad is on.
The problem is though, is it has none of the charisma that Face Off has.
No, not at all. That's
It
what I'm
has
saying. In concept,
none
this
of the
movie sounds like it'd be
energy
awesome.
Of
Yeah.
Face Off. I mean,
Right.
while I like the movie, I think it's inferior to Face Off is Broken Arrow. This doesn't even have the energy or charisma of Broken Arrow.
Damn.
This movie
Yeah.
has no energy to it. It is, if you took John Wick and Nobody, two of the best examples of this type of revenge movie in recent memory, and you took both of those movies and you combined them together and you took every single element of those movies that was interesting and good, and you took it out. And instead of making your movie those things, you made your movie with what was left.
So even though I haven't seen it, I just by what y'all have said, it's like it feels like maybe the strategy was, okay, yeah, we're gonna have those action set pieces, we're gonna have this revenge tale, and if I don't have any dialogue, if I don't have any of that, that'll make it feel interesting, fresh, and new. But that concept alone wouldn't make something feel fresh and interesting. It would all have to be about execution and what you do with that concept. You can't just have it and go, this is what we're doing. It feels like it was kind of like, man, I can have this. It'll feel fresh and I don't have to do dialogue. Sign me up. You know, that's what it sounds like. But it just sounds like, just from what y'all are saying, that was part of the hook of this. And it's called Silent Night. So it feels like it was a big emphasis on, oh man, there's hardly going to be any dialogue. So it's just going to be a pure adrenaline action film. And it just sounds like it kind of crashed and burned.
It's
Trying to take a shortcut
so
and
much of
pawn
this
it off
movie,
as a feature. You know what I mean?
so
Yeah.
much of this movie is just set up for the end. So it's not even like an adrenaline fueled action packed ride. It
Yeah.
is a movie that just idles, no, like foot not even on the gas, just put in drive and just idles
Yeah.
until the last 20 minutes of the movie. And then they go, oh yeah, we have a gas pedal. And then
Damn.
even then they go, let's go responsible 20 miles an hour.
Dang, it didn't
And
even
they
speed up
also-
at the end.
And I also get what you mean about like the charisma of the other movies, because like even in this one, our villain is like the most generic villain that you can think of for this type of movie. You know,
I can describe him very easily, Justin. Do you remember just any of the generic Mexican people that Rambo killed in Rambo 5 or whatever we watched?
Oh my God, yes.
That.
So it's that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I know exactly how he is.
See, the thing is that makes like Face Off so special to me is you even have the villain, Castor Troy, has one of the cringiest lines that he delivers all the time when he's like, I want to suck your tongue. That's a cringy line. But fuck, does it work in that movie when he says it? Because that character is just oozing magnetism.
and honestly, either one of them, either Nicolas Cage or John Travolta saying it would have worked. If
Yes.
I'm being honest. Yeah.
And that's the thing. This movie since it has no dialogue, it doesn't even have that. It doesn't even have him like at the end, like kind of croaking out a Merry Christmas, asshole. Like, you know what I mean? It's like something. This movie is set up to have a cheesy, great one line at the end. Because your character can't speak. Spoiler alert. I mean, it's not a spoiler alert. It's part of the conceit of the movie. At the beginning of the movie, when main character's son dies, he also gets shot in the throat and it damages his vocal cords. So he cannot talk. So that's why it would have been kind of cool at the end of the movie if he's like, Merry Christmas, motherfucker, and like croaks it out when he shoots the bad guy. Come on. That'd be a
That would
triumph
have
of the
taken it up
human
a
spirit.
notch. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd have been tight. Just hearing it, that sounds like that would be cool.
Yeah. And like, that's the thing is it would have been better to me if this movie, if everybody just fucking talked but him. Show him more in isolation. Because I think that that's part of the theme of the movie is that they want to be like, oh, look, he's isolated. He can't talk, all this other shit, you know, but nobody does.
Yeah. Even in like flashbacks, you know,
Yes.
there's no, it's just laughing and playing and stuff, but it's no words.
That motherfucker doesn't even remember saying words. Come on. You can't tell me if you lost your vocal cord, you wouldn't just think about all the times you used to be able to talk. Come on. Especially if it's also when
That's
your
true.
kid died from gang violence. You can't tell me you wouldn't just be remembering the last words you said to your kid. You wouldn't be thinking about those. Come on.
No, because he was busy thinking about the future of his kid who was
Yeah.
already dead. Yeah.
On that note, we need to just get on to recommendations and scores and then spoilers
Yeah.
because we're just fucking talking at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Recommendations and score.
Fuck no, I don't recommend this movie. I give it a 6. Heather, you.
This is a very different format than normal, but yeah, I don't really have a reason to recommend it. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to get judgment from Sterling for my score though, but
Is it higher than a 6?
yes.
Too fucking high. I'll just do it before you give it.
Okay. Yes. It's kind of a wasted potential of what could have been a pretty good movie, but I think the reason for it is like, I don't hate it, but I also don't feel anything towards it, you know, and that's the problem. It didn't give me any, and even though it has moments that are supposed to be sad and all of those things, like it didn't give me those feelings of that. So it just kind of left me feeling indifferent and nothing towards it. And I feel like I know Sterling before has been like, that makes it worse. But I mean, I guess for me, like, I don't think it's a 6 bad, but it's, but I don't really give it a passing score because I don't know. I feel bad because I think that Joel Kinnaman could have done something really good with this role if he had dialogue or something else going on with it. And even Kid Cudi, I would watch a team up movie of the two of them. They were fine. They had, I mean, I guess if there was some form of character chemistry, I mean, I guess they had the most. Like,
They
I
are
don't know.
on screen together for about 45 seconds.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, and that's fair. But the moments that they had, you're just like, okay, I could see this. This could have been good, you know, if they had more time together. Or like, yeah, we'll get into their connection and stuff, but like just things that they could have done there to make that storyline so much better. It's just they only give you pieces of a story to care about, so you don't really feel an attachment to any of the characters that you are very clearly supposed to care about in this movie. So no, I don't really recommend it. There's definitely better versions of this. So I'm going to give it 45 of, you know what? Actually, I'll give it 40. 40 criminals just left on your doorstep out of 100.
Cinescore is a wickedly high 23.
Ugh.
Wickedly high. Oh no.
Mind-bogglingly high 23. Spoilers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jastin, this is where you're going to shine, buddy.
Hey, Jastin, you remember Nobody when the RZA shows up at the end and it's fantastic?
Yes.
Yeah, think about the opposite of that, but Kid Cudi.
Okay.
That's Kid Cudi at the end of this movie, and it's not Kid Cudi's fault. It's not his fault. It's the movie's fault. Like, that's the thing is, like I said, that's not even a new thing. The main guy teaming up with the musician turned actor at the end of the movie is not even new with this movie. Like, it's not even, we saw it literally in Nobody when the RZA shows up at the end. And you also had the benefit of Christopher Lloyd also, and, you know, everything being good and funny also. Like, this movie didn't do that. Like,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things. Let me describe to you, Jastin, real quick what Kid Cudi's role in this movie is. He's a gang detective. You know, he's a detective that fights gangs. And
Okay.
so how many movies have you seen where the guy's, you know, going for vengeance and there's a cop that's also, you know, there, and while the cop should be against it, he just ends up siding with the guy that's committing crimes and doing a vengeance?
Oh my God. Is there anything in this that doesn't happen in a billion movies?
Yeah.
No dialogue.
Oh
That's
my
about
God.
it.
See, I'm back to that whole thing. Yeah, we're going to have no dialogue and that's going to make it awesome. I can just do all the same shit, but have no dialogue and it's going to be tight. Like, it feels like it was a shortcut in this case. Like
It was a crutch.
Yeah.
That
Just
it
being
should not have.
coined as this cool element, but
Yeah.
it's
The thing is it's a defective crutch. It's a crutch that you should not be putting your weight on, and it is.
because your ass is going to fall.
Yeah. Like I said, no one will save you has interesting things happen. There's mystery, there's suspense, there's tension, there's interesting visuals. There's, you know, even within the mystery, there's multiple mysteries like, oh, that's that alien, but that's a different type of alien, but this alien can do this. There's so many elements to it. There's none of that in this movie. It's just everything that the movie shows you is uninspired, unoriginal. Been there, done that in better movies. Been there, done that in better John Woo movies. I got nothing from this movie. Like, I felt hollow after watching this movie because it was just a waste of an experience. It was a waste of potentially good ideas. I kind of see what you said, Heather. There is potential in this movie. John Woo can make a good movie. Joel Kinnaman is a good actor and can do some action shit. Kid Cudi, I've seen him do, He did better acting in the third Bill and Ted movie than he did in this. And it's not his fault. You know?
Yeah, agree.
So, like, I know Kid Cudi has better potential. As much as I was not a huge fan of the movie X, you know, both of you liked it more than me. I didn't think it was terrible, but I just didn't like it as much as you guys. He's better in that than this.
Yeah, he's honestly very good in that.
Yeah. He has the potential. They just went, we're not going to use a damn thing of it. I'm just sitting here wondering why the fuck you cast him and Joel Kinnaman in this movie to have them do nothing. I mean,
Yeah,
Joel
that's
Kinnaman
true.
is at least giving you grade A facial acting.
Yeah, that's true.
But
He is.
unfortunately, his facial acting goes from really sad guy to really angry guy, and that is it.
Yeah.
And then in the
And
flashbacks,
occasionally really focused guy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know, it's, yeah. So in the present, it's focused, angry, or sad. In the flashbacks, it's happy. I miss my kid. And that's it. There's no nuance to anything. Like, you don't see him possibly, like, in the middle of it, you don't really ever get that point of, like, maybe he's like, I'm going down the wrong path. You know, where he has that dilemma on his face or anything. No. He kills somebody, throws up and goes, yeah, boy, I'm going to go kill 40 people.
I mean, and you make a good point because, like, and I haven't seen Joel Kinnaman in as much stuff probably as you have. But what I have seen him in, he's good, you know?
He is better in the remake of RoboCop than this movie.
Yeah.
What? Oh man. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
But like,
Wow.
yeah, but and then like Kid Cudi too, like even in that episode that he's in of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, right? Where he's like this just really funny, like criminal guy. He's got a lot of charm to him. You know what I mean? Like he can do so much more than what they gave him in this silent film. But
They
you know,
could have at least
it's
teamed up
sad.
throughout the movie. Like,
And like their action or their energy together, I know they weren't on screen very much, but like I could see the potential of like they could be in a movie where they're partners and they team up and they would be a good combination, you know?
it could have been good in this movie. Kid Cudi could have been talking and Joel Kinnaman could have
Yeah.
been sitting there silent nighting and it would have worked. I do think that the biggest flaw in this movie is the stupid and terrible decision to just go, we're not talking for this whole movie. I think it would
Yeah.
have been more interesting if you showed this man's isolation for being the only fucking person that can't talk, and he lost his voice the same day he lost his son for the same reason. You know, that's an interesting movie. That's some interesting motivations. You know, you could have had the Gamecock talking to him and been like, look, we're, you know, giving him updates on the case and being like, yeah, look, we know who did it. We're trying to figure out this. We're trying to do this, blah, blah, blah. All of those things. And just have him see the look on Joel Kinnaman's face of just that anger and that focus of like, nothing you're saying is good enough because you won't get the justice I can get. And then I would have bought at the end of the movie, whenever they're climbing up the gang tower, like some fucking F-rate fucking raid movie. Also, yes, that's the end of this movie is they climb up the villain's tower to get to the villain. A la the Raid
Oh,
and
God.
Dread.
There's a villain tower.
There's a
Oh,
villain
my
tower.
God.
Complete
Oh my
with
God.
sub-boss, too. He fights the sub-boss before he gets to the main boss.
Wow.
Also complete with
Okay.
one of the characters, the bad guy, dancing with his girlfriend after giving her heroin. You know, kind of like Dread with the whole, the slow-mo. Yeah, that shit. You know, the drug use at the end of the villain tower. Like I said, just like the movie Dread.
Damn.
This movie is not original in the slightest.
Jastin, what is that movie that like you apparently saw that you really liked that everyone gives you a bunch of crap for?
That is Maria Full of Grace.
Maria Full of Grace.
Our girl from Maria Full of Grace is the wife in this movie. Just FYI.
Just another
thought it was
point
that
against this
movie.
movie.
Yeah. FYI.
Really?
I thought that was the movie, but I was like, maybe I'm mixing it up with a different movie. But I wanted to make sure that was it first. Yeah.
Maria was in this movie?
Yeah, she was and the thing is, her facial acting was good too, but what do you have to go off of? Her texting angrily and annoyed is
grade A texter.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So was it Cataline or is it
Catalina Sandino
Moreno?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. CSM. So she was in it. Okay. What does she look like now? She'd probably be much older.
Yeah, I mean, she looked all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't actually seen Marie Full of Grace, so I don't know in comparison with that. But
I purged that movie from my fucking head like 6 minutes after we watched it.
It's the bomb.com, dog.
I don't know about all that. But yeah, it's, like I was saying though, like that's the problem with this movie is that, like I said, there's not a single original like idea throughout any of it, even with it accidentally falling into the trap of No One Will Save You came out a few months ago. Like there's just nothing about this movie that ultimately ends up being interesting. This movie, even its advertisements and its goal and its marketing is just to make you think it's ripping off Nobody or John Wick. It wants to give you those feelings. It wants to give you that energy. It wants to give you that mindset without putting in an ounce of effort to do anything remotely close to as well as any of those other movies did. I would rather watch Taken 8 than this.
Damn, man. He done brought up those Taken sequels. Okay, one quick question about it, though. So, obviously, the plot, everything else that you're telling me, certain characters, we got a villain tower complete with sub-boss and all that stuff. How was the action in this film? Did this guy fight a certain way that was appealing? Was it a lot of weaponry stuff? Was there any interesting or kind of creative fight sequences? Nothing? Not even that was on point?
Not for 2023. I don't think it's creative enough.
Okay. So we've just seen far too much better stuff.
This
like
movie would have been creative as fuck in 2012.
What I think is kind of funny, at least what I took from it, is like there's a couple of scenes in here, like, or the fight training montages that they do. Those, I mean, I just feel like those had the same amount of action and energy as the actual fight scenes in this one. You know what I mean?
You know that fighting dummy that looks just like a man's torso? Like it's a man's face and arms and like torso and chest and shit. Or not arms, it's like the shoulders, Yeah, that's what he trains on. He just punches and stabs one of those things over and over again.
Wow.
I mean, and it was cool to see like him, training and learning all the stuff, but like for whatever reason, parts of that captivated me more than the actual like action scenes with the people, you know what I mean? And I think another thing too that reminds me of the movie Face Off with this is the villain and his like layer that he lives in or whatever, just is kind of reminiscent of like the bad guys in Face Off or Castor Troy's, where all his people are hanging out and they do the shootout.
Oh yeah, because it's the gigantic layer where it's like one floor and it's just one gigantic room, and there's just weirdly like that movement lighting, like it's a fucking EDM club, like just putting patterns all over the wall and shit. That's the problem is, I love you, John Woo. I've got a lot of happy memories with you, but yeah, bro, you're stuck in 1998. Like aesthetically, everything. There's nothing about this movie that felt modern to me. And there's just been too many modern movies that do this formula better now. Like John Woo, I'll give him credit. He was kind of the pioneer for some of this shit. Him and what's his name? Chow Yun-fat.
Definitely. Chow Yun Fat. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
What's that movie they did?
Killers?
Well, there's that.
Killer?
Hard Boiled, something like that.
Oh yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, classics, you know. And it's just, it's the problem he has whenever he does like that he developed doing American movies. It just, you know, ends up feeling like that. It feels like just ripoffs of shit he did. Yeah, Hard Boiled. I was right. It just does not feel anything close to any of that other stuff. I mean, I kind of want to go and check out some of his movies that he did, you know, not in the United States, just to see if maybe those, the more recent ones of those he did were good, you know? Oh yeah, I'm looking at these, man. The Killer, that's a great movie.
Yeah, that was great. Need to see that again. It's been too long since I've seen that.
I mean, how old is that movie?
1989. Oh, fuck me.
So yeah, still just older stuff. Yeah, it's almost like he just doesn't really have anything new to say, but still was like, yeah, let people remember that I make movies. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And he leaned too much on this nobody's going to talk element. It feels like he just put all of his eggs in that nobody's going to talk basket. And that's what's going to make it unique. Yeah. I can just do my same kind of action movie, but this element will make it unique and fresh. And I mess around with that a little bit. And, you know, it's just another day at the office and we can make some money. But it just sounds like he wasn't really inspired. It just sounds like he kind of had an idea and he was like, ooh, I could have them not talking and it's going to be tight. And it just wasn't.
It's like, it's like he wanted that aspect to be the personality of this movie. While something like No One Will Save You, that wasn't the personality of the movie. It was just a choice that worked well because of how they did everything else in the movie. You know, like it didn't feel like it was just trying to make the personality of it like, oh, nobody's going to talk. People are going to love that. It was more like, oh, it's interesting that you made that choice with this type of movie. We've never seen that before. But with this, it just felt like he specifically wanted that to be what the personality of this movie was.
Yeah, that's what he wanted that to be the hook. But it's not a hook. Like it ends up being more like just a ball. Like if you know, like when you're trying to go fishing, you want a hook to catch them. And instead you just like tied a ball to the end of some string. And like, I don't know why I'm not getting any fish. Like, you know, it's just.
Yeah.
Or like do some more artistic shit with it. Like,
okay, you remind me.
It's just not enough.
Jastin.
Like if, you know, like if the people are silent and stuff, okay, cool. But you could have some shit happen. Like maybe you do something with colors or something. Kind of like Spider-Man did, you know, the Spider-Verse did or something. Like maybe you could do something with the colors to convey different emotions or something. Or maybe like he's trying to get information out of somebody and they're smoking. And when they, you know, blow the smoke out of their mouth, a word forms that says, I'll never tell you anything or something. You know, I don't know. Maybe if it was more like artistic and shit, you know, with the silence, not just, nobody's going to talk.
Like there,
you know,
you did remind me, there's one interesting shot in this movie. And that is when he's fighting the sub boss, you know, just, you know, the big hulking enforcer that all these movies have. He's fighting that guy.
Of course.
And at one point, like the guy's got him and he like drops down and just shoots the gun straight up and it goes through the top of that guy's head. That was a cool shot. I'll give him that. That was a cool shot. But, you know, I mean, one cool headshot in a fucking movie, like one cool headshot does not make a good movie. You know what I mean? Like that's, you know, it's that weird thing. It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like Mortal Kombat 4 to me, where it has all the elements of the Mortal Kombat games and all this other stuff. It's got the violence, it's got the gore, it's got the characters you know and love, and you know, the game just sucks.
Yeah.
It's that
good analogy.
It's just everything you've seen. You know these people. You've seen these people. You know, it's got John Woo. It's got this hook. It's got these. You know, it's got all the gun shit you like at the end of a movie. But you know, it's got him just like literally a third of the movie is just training montage because he's not saying anything, so it becomes and feels like a montage, and it never stops. This movie is like an hour and 46 minutes long. And no less than 30 minutes is just a gigantic montage. And of course, everything he trains to do is exactly what he does later in the movie. Like he's training to drive. And, you know, at one point he like trains to where he can like spin the car and stop it before it hitting these two cones, like with the side, like, so he won't sideswipe it, right? So he's like spinning and the cones are here and like stops right before he hits the cones, right? So of course he does that exact maneuver later in the movie.
Yeah, you had to do it.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm going to do this takedown and stab a guy in the throat. So of course, later in the movie, takedown, stab a guy in the throat. You know what I mean? Like, so it's literally just one for one. Everything he trains to do is what he does. You know, there's a scene where he puts a tripwire up with some explosives. And you think, oh man, he's going to trick somebody with this. Nah, just some guys run up the stairs and hit it.
Yeah. Yep.
Just, you know what I mean? Literally just exactly what, you know, the most basic thing that could happen with a tripwire explosive is exactly what happens. You know? He doesn't even like try to trick them into like luring to them to come that way. No, that's just the way they were running anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird too, because and something I kind of said earlier too was nothing really feels earned in this, because you also think about the fact that, you know, Kid Cudi's supposed to be this, you know, gang detective or whatever he is. And you see like at one point, Joel Kinnaman's character sends him one of the criminals to his doorstep and just basically says, here, arrest him. And then has like a file or something that he's given him where he says
it's a confession. Yeah.
Or
It's like, where are the drugs? They're here. Where's this? Where are they here? Also, the guy's handwriting is so illegible. It's not words. So the confession is useless. But two, the problem with movies like this and just the basic understanding of everything, that man's written confession and delivery constitutes torture, a forced confession, no Miranda rights, and kidnapping. Therefore, none of that confession is valid and they can't arrest the guy.
Nope.
Yeah. But doesn't he say something too about like, this is what you should have done? And it's like, we don't even get that backstory of like why you're saying that to this guy either. You know?
Because they don't meet in the movie. Because the only time Kid Cudi and him meet earlier in the movie is when the guy's in the hospital post-surgery and unconscious. And Kid Cudi's character comes like he's going to talk to him and goes, he's sleeping. I'll let him rest. Business card on the table, and walks away.
Yep. Yeah.
But
so it feels like what is that? Like, why was that a necessary thing to say? Like, why do we care about that story when we didn't get anything about that story? You know,
but then you also don't ever see Kid Cudi detecting anything. You see him just in the police office.
And then he shows up
and then he
starts shooting,
sitting in a police car.
Yeah. Again, not Kid Cudi's fault.
Detects nothing. And then he just shows up and starts committing crimes next to Joel Kinnaman. I get that these are violent criminals that killed a child. But also, you know, we do live in a society where it is still not okay to just run around and murder people you assume are criminals. I mean,
it was almost like at one point he was happy to do it too. Like there was the understood like nod, you know?
Yeah.
But then there was like we're about to just go off right now.
Because they do the obligatory thing where Joel Kinnaman just got done killing some people. And Kid Cudi walks around the corner having his gun drawn on him, and they just look at each other, and then Kid Cudi goes, like, yeah, we's gonna murder people and violate their basic civil and human rights.
Right.
Because that's what we's about here in the LPPD. I don't even know where the fuck it was. It's somewhere in Texas. And they're the LPPD. I don't know what the fuck city that's fucking referring to. But they're somewhere. You know.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it's the LPPD somewhere in Texas. But you know, they're just like, hey, let's do some murder. Let's murder these criminals. Let's, you know, let's go out Batman some Batman.
And also, did you feel like the scene with the girl that was shooting them like went on for way longer than it needed to?
They let this bitch just walk in the room and start shooting them. Not at them. No, them. Just start shooting them.
and you know it's supposed to be one of those like, oh, I don't want to kill you, you know, kind of thing. But because they're not saying anything, it just looks like they're watching her right before she shoots him. Like, you know.
The whole premise is that Joel Kinnaman feels bad for her because she's a junkie. Because she's got heroin track marks. That she's being abused also. She is shooting at you. I'm sorry. Correction. She is shooting you. She hit both of them.
And kind of laughed about it too, didn't she?
Yeah. And then
that
also,
tells you
quickest reloader in the history of ever. This woman puts Navy SEALs to shame with how quickly she can reload a weapon. They let her go through like 3 magazines before they seriously attempt to do anything to her. It's ridiculous. I don't even remember what he did to kill the bad guy now that I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to think of how did he kill the big bad at the end of this movie. I can't tell you.
Didn't Kid Cudi kill him?
Was it?
I think because I think Joel Kinnaman shot him, and then he was about to shoot him for like the 5th time or however many times he shot him.
No.
And then he came in behind him, right?
You reminded me. Joel Kinnaman choked him.
Oh, you're right. Maybe I'm thinking of the girl that they killed.
And then stopped. It was like, he was like going to let him live. So this man just murdered 35 of the lower gang members. But no, I'm not going to kill the guy that literally is directly responsible for killing my son and shooting me in the throat. I'm going to let him get arrested.
That's right.
But then that guy, of course, has a gun or a knife or something, and then Kid Cudi shoots him. And then Joel Kinnaman just lies down and starts reminiscing about the future, like Heather said. Like he just sits there and goes, flashbacks of the future. My kid graduating. My kid having children. And then Kid Cudi just comes up next to him and lies down next to him like these long-lost lifetime buddies.
Yeah, that part was
and they
too
die
much for me.
together.
And he was happy to do it. Kid Cudi had a smile while he was laying down there, too. He was like, well done.
He lies down like he just goes, we just solved gang violence in this country. I can die now.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. This sounds awful. This sounds terrible.
It no goddamn sense. And like Heather says, not a single bit of that is earned.
But also, like, the part that I almost forgot is, like, when he's having these, you know, flashbacks of the future, it's in these, like, globes that are hanging from the...
Yes, it's an
from
ornament.
the guy's
it's
lair.
An ornament things like...
So it's like an ornament of different memories that he's seeing as he's laying here dying.
Because, you know, Christmas.
Yeah. It's a silent night, you know, so of course. Yeah, that happened.
It's fucking glorious, Jastin. I changed my mind. I recommend the fuck out of this. I just want you to watch it.
I'm actually like really just second guessing my score now. Yeah. That ending just ruins it completely, basically.
And then they act like they are fucking cool because they play some fucking gospel, like, or not gospel, some like tabernacle choir version of Silent Night during the credits. Because of course they do. They can't even bust out some fucking Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Which sounds like it would have been perfect for something like this.
And they're not even getting, they're not even getting like the Mormon tabernacle choir, like that good tabernacle. Nah, they just getting like the St. Paul, Minnesota, lesser known tabernacle choir. Just the most no-name motherfuckers ever. And it's not even their Christmas performance. It's like the warm-up 2 months before Christmas performance of Silent Night.
Oh no.
It's just like I said, they could have given me some Trans-Siberian Orchestra, at least give me some of that Silent Night with some energy.
There's not even like a lot of Christmas songs on the soundtrack. You know how I am with Christmas songs. They didn't have none of that, man.
I don't
None of that was in there.
remember.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't recall it being specifically any sort of Christmas music, but yeah, I'm not really sure.
I would assume there wasn't, because I think that would have made me madder.
That's
Yeah,
probably
I'm pretty
true.
sure. I think you would have noticed it.
If it was
Or
like
they could have had like death metal versions of it. Those bells came ring, ring, jangle, and something.
I mean, maybe I don't like. You're asking me to put more effort into watching this movie than they put into making it.
I mean, but also like you feel also like it ends pretty abruptly too. Like after the whole, let's die next to each other thing, you just see the wife and she's got like this letter from him, right? On the kid's grave, I think.
Yeah, it's like a letter or something. And it's just like, hey, you were right and deserved better. I'm sorry I couldn't be better. But don't worry, I murdered people. Merry Christmas. Something like that.
Yeah. Right. And it's like they didn't even really give you much with their relationship. Like they gave you a little bit of them to where you're just like, oh, I hope that they make it, because there's obviously the distance between them now because of this grief and everything like that, and you see that he's like completely ignoring her by trying to get on his revenge path. And you just feel like they're going to do something more with that. And they just kind of let you sit in it for like 5 minutes and then they're done with it. Like it doesn't really amount to anything either. So yeah, again, nothing feels earned that they try to do here,
I mean, the first third of this movie is them like, adjusting to the new life, like child dying, he's suffering, all that stuff, marriage turmoil, right? Probably the most interesting aspect of this movie is the first third. Then they go into a third of the movie that's just montage. And then they go into about, another 15% of the movie is just him getting ready to enact his plan. And then the last 15, 18%, whatever at this, is the end of the movie. So it doesn't even balance out act wise. Because it's first act, second act, part 2, third act.
And also something else I didn't think about is if there's anybody that should have said words in this movie, it was actually the mom of the poor kid that Joel Kinnaman was thinking was his kid.
Joel Kinnaman just walks up to some random kid and starts imagining his kid, starts touching all over this kid's face. Mom runs up and grabs her kid, and then that's when he realizes it's not his kid. With no words said.
Yeah.
She didn't even
stay away
hit
from
him.
my kid.
She didn't even hit him with her purse. Nothing, Jastin. She just walks up, grabs her kid, and goes inside the building.
Yeah.
Doesn't even say, what the fuck are you doing, asshole? Nothing. Any of the normal shit a parent would have said. If some random stranger walks up to their small child and starts just waterfalling their face. Not a goddamn word.
Wow. I do want to see this, but not because I'm anticipating anything. I just kind of want to see what happened. Like how you can't look away from the car crash. I just kind of want to drive by and.
But it's not even a fun car crash. Like Prisoners of Ghost Town was a fun car wreck.
Oh, yeah.
I still have no fucking clue what I watched. But I watched it.
Me neither.
This, I know exactly what I watched, and I'm kind of mad I did.
And it's like you want better because, I mean, like you said, Joel Kinnaman is a good actor. Doesn't really choose great things to be in, from my understanding.
He's very good in Altered Carbon, and he's very good in a show called The Killing. Very good. And Sympathy for the Devil's pretty good. I did watch that recently. It's Nicolas Cage and Joel Kinnaman. I thought it was fantastic. Like, not fantastic might be like a little bit unfair, but I think it was pretty good. This isn't. I'm just like, I mean, Home Alone is more action-packed as a Christmas movie than this fucking movie is.
Who is Joel Kinnaman's agent? We need to have a word with them.
Some asshole. Some guy that apparently is married to some woman that Joel Kinnaman fucked at a party. And Joel Kinnaman doesn't know that his agent is the husband of the woman he fucked.
He's just been screwing him over for years.
Yes. It's all revenge.
That sounds like a better movie than this.
It does.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, Jastin, do you have any final thoughts about this movie?
Hell no.
Heather, what about you?
I think I'm tapped out.
I mean, I'll say fuck this movie again.
There you go.
Nice way to end it. Nice way to end it.
Thank you guys for listening to this crazy episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. Check us out on the internet at www.cinemaslayers.com. Check us out on the internet, or not at the internet. Check us out on Facebook at Cinema Slayers Podcast. On Instagram and Threads, we were at Cinema Slayers Pod, or Cinema_Slayers. We're at Cinema Slayers Pod on TikTok and YouTube. Give us a 5-star rating and review. We'd really appreciate it. Really help us out. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your family's friends, and tell your friends, tell your family, tell your family's friends, tell your friends' family, and most of all, tell those dear sweet mothers, because dear sweet mothers love.
I mean, I guess Joel Kinnaman.
I was gonna say leaving their husbands after they, don't do anything.
Yeah.
That's what
That
the mom
as well.
did in this movie.
Right.
So I get it. That's probably the most realistic thing in this movie. Was her leaving him at that point. I get it.
Mothers also like people who watch the correct film. So,
Yeah, but honestly, Jastin, that's probably the most interesting thing about this fucking episode of a shitty movie.
I was going to say, like, that whole mishap made this whole podcast more interesting than the movie itself was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
I
I'm
don't feel
glad.
so bad.
So thanks.
I'm glad you chose to stay on and just still go down this rabbit hole with us. Because, that was more fun than the movie was.
That's true.
Like I said, you're just ultra prepared for next week.
Yeah. I'm ready to go next week.
Knowing you, you're
boy.
probably going to watch it again before we record.
He's going to watch Silent Night for next week.
Yeah.
Shout out to Plug Migo and Mundo Ochoa for our theme song and logos, respectively. Remember, here at the Cinema Slayers podcast, we are pro slut, pro Sydney, and pro naked. And you, yes, you, dear listener, you are Knuff. And as I always end these podcasts, these TikToks, and these YouTube videos, remember, according to Jastin, Moon Knight is the Best Picture winner.
Now you can add, according to Jastin, Silent Night is Killers of the Flower Moon.
According to Jastin, he's insanely offended
Nobody knows anything but
that I implied that Killers of the Flower Moon had no talking like Silent Night.
Are you ready?
Oh, no. Just all the miscommunication in this one.
I'm tempted to now say that next week just to start it. Like, regardless of how I actually end up feeling about the movie, because I have not seen it at all. If I was just like, spoiler-free thoughts, and Jastin, go, just to fuck with you.
Man, it might just work. But, man, I'll never live this down. I'm the only one that's made this mistake. That sucks.
at least like I just still think it's funny that we got into the episode before we realized that this was what was happening.
Mid talking about it, just realizing what's happening. That's so funny.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch the beginning of it, though. Boy, I made a face. The realization I had.
I'm sad I
It was
missed
all
that
over
face
my
because I
face.
was like mid thought and I missed it. I'm kind of bummed out about that.
Because I just like, just for the Cinema Slayers out there, this is how this goes. Jastin just randomly says, "Stop it," and I'm literally typing out, "Stop what?" question mark, and then he goes, "I'm sorry, I got confused. I watched Killers." Smiley face emoji. And I said, "You did not watch Silent Night?" question mark, exclamation, question mark, exclamation. And he says, "No, LOL. I thought we switched it." But whenever I said, "You did watch Silent Night," I just looked right up at Jastin. He's just got the stupidest fucking smile on his face. Like he's trying to recreate that grin ass
The
emoji.
emoji.
And I just start laughing. And Heather's just sitting there trying to do the only one of us three that's actually trying to do their damn job of talking about this movie, because I had already omitted talking.
And she was just looking like, what are they doing? What is going on?
I was like, I know it might not be that interesting when I talk about this movie, but I haven't even got into it yet, guys. Like, what's
And
going on?
and if you're watching the YouTube video, you will see me just laughing my ass off on mute. Like no one can hear me laughing. Just laughing my ass off at the fact that we are full on in the episode. And just finding out Jastin has not watched the movie.
This is great. I really am glad you stayed on, though. You were like, let me ask some questions. Let's see what's going on.
I knew you said it's so weird when you were talking about Killers.
It just didn't click at all.
It just didn't even click.
You're like, well,
I
yeah,
can't
you
believe
bought
it
it.
didn't click.
That's what we're watching. Like,
And that's after having a conversation about how I am going to probably split up watching Killers this upcoming weekend.
I'm like, what are you
no, my
talking
favorite
about?
was
Like,
my favorite was Sterling being like, why is this going to be a long episode?
And it ends up being a longer episode because we end up breaking in the middle of it.
Yeah, because Jastin's like, I got a lot to say. It's going to be a long one. And we're like, what?
I just think it's funny that both me and Jastin are equally confused by what the other one is saying. I'm confused because Justin's like, I've got a lot to say. And I'm like, how the fuck does he have a lot to say about this fucking shitty movie?
you said there are no words. And I was like, motherfucker, it was 3.5 hours of words.
I'm just like, no, there's not.
Oh, no, just so much confusion. That's
Like,
great.
the funny thing is Killers of the Flower Moon is 3.5 hours long. This movie is 1:45, so it's exactly half the runtime of Killers of the Flower Moon. It has 100% less dialogue.
Yes, this is accurate.
And we
Yeah.
it still didn't click to either one of us that we're not talking about the same movie. It didn't click until I said the name of the movie we're gonna fucking talk about.
Oh, no. That's great. That is gold. I love
God,
that.
we are professional as fuck.
Yeah. It just goes to
We
show
just
you what
rolled
kind of
with
week
it.
I was having. Damn.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, fuck me. That's fantastic. It really is. I think that's the most I've laughed in an episode since Fast Family, when I talked about that's like nutting and then saying I need to put on a condom. Because fuck me, that's one of my best jokes ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also, yeah, the Prisoners of Ghostland. Because we
Prisoners of
had
Ghostland.
such a hard time keeping it together in that episode.
Yeah. We laughed through half of it. Yeah, that was great.
Just trying to even figure out what the fuck we watched.
That's funny.
And the sad thing is it almost had the same energy as this of we could have watched two different movies. Who fucking knows with that one?
Oh, man.
Jesus Christ.
That was Nicolas Cage too, right? Or no?
Yeah, that was Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really kind of funny because like I really had like this very somber thing I was going to talk about towards the end of this episode, but this episode has been just so off the rails that like that's completely thrown off, and I don't necessarily want to drag the energy down a little bit. But I mean, I do want to say this to our cinefans out there and all this other stuff. Over the last few weeks, I know that we have been slightly inconsistent, and by slightly, I mean very inconsistent with the episodes being released and everything like that. By the time we are even recording this, that has been rectified and will continue to be rectified. Just to be honest with everybody, I was going through some stuff in my personal life, and also dealing with the mental illness I do have when it comes to like ADHD. I do rely very much on hyperfixating to do the editing of the video and audio because it's really just beneficial to be able to just sit for 4 hours and forget the world exists and just focus on that. And I became too reliant on that. So when things were happening, like I said, in my personal life, that became my hyperfixation. And so when I've been so reliant on my hyperfixation to do my editing and I didn't have that anymore, it really kind of stalled me out for a little while. And when even some of the stuff was like uploaded and fixed, I had to fix how it was uploaded and fix some of those things. And I still couldn't even stay on track enough to do that. And while some of that stuff is still slightly going on or whatever, like the benefit is I just took a day and I took some time without hyperfixating on it to just do the work. So that's like one of the things that I do need to get better at as far as editing this stuff goes, is just when I'm not hyperfixating on it, to still just take the time to do it, to still, like doing those things, like when they say like to create a routine of, just do it. Like sometimes that's what you have to do. You have to just force yourself to do it, even if you don't feel like it and all those other things. And that's kind of what I ended up doing this past Sunday. I was able to just get a lot of work done, and I just did it while watching football. I just edited while watching football, and I was able to like get through this stuff. So it will be better in the future, guys. That's my bad. Wanted to kind of be upfront and honest with you guys, because I try to be, I'm not going to go any more specific than what I did, because I know I've said some crazy ass shit on this podcast about my personal life, and I'm always fine with that because it only affects me. But if there are other people involved in stuff like that, even if no one out here knows those people or anything like that, I'm not going to drag other people down with it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to air out something that might involve other people. If it's my life, I don't care. I'll say anything that just affects me because, I can control that. I don't have to feel bad or worry about somebody else or anything like that when it just affects me. But just wanted to be honest with our audience here, and stuff like that. And I'd already talked to Jastin and Heather before we started recording about all that. But yeah, there's a lot of episodes now, lots of episodes, including, me and Heather did a bonus episode of Fall of the House of Usher, and we did one on Wish. Jastin wasn't able to be on those. So yeah, that's why I'm really glad you stuck around on this one, Jastin, because that would have been like 3 in a row you weren't on.
Yeah, and apparently I can't get it together, so I almost wasn't on this one. Dang. So yeah, but no, I'm glad that I did stay. It was fun listening to y'all and chiming in whenever I could. It was still a lot of fun.
Sometimes doing that, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
If anybody has not heard, I did that on the Glass episode. That's when Devin was doing the podcast, and it was you and Heather and Devin all talking about the movie Glass, and just my ass going, I ain't watching that shit, but I'll be on the episode.
Yep.
So it's fun sometimes being that guy, just listening, chiming in.
Yeah, it was fun. It was more fun and way more interesting than I thought it was going to be. I think it was really cool.
We got to find a really movie cool for you to do that with, Heather.
Yeah. Part of me is like, there's a few in the past that, I could have been fine doing that with.
Yeah. See, now that Jastin's done it and it wasn't just a me being weird thing. The next time we have
Now
one,
I'm the odd person out.
yes. Now we need to rectify that and bring you in
Yep.
on a movie
Yep,
you
gotta
haven't
have you.
watched. Especially if it's one of those movies where it's like a series and you just haven't watched any of the rest of them. And we're talking about it. I think that'd be really fun.
That would be kind of funny.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, I'm out.